Hello, and welcome to a VO's Journey podcast. My name is Anthony Pica, and this show is all about helping the new and upcoming voiceover artists grow their business and sidestep all of the crazy things that I seem to leap upon. Thank you guys so much for listening. Today's show, I want to talk to you about what can I do when I don't know what to do? I think that's, I kind of may, make it silly, but the reality is in my business, even right now, things I'm going through right now, when I don't know what to do, it's hard to comprehend down the road. It's hard to comprehend the next turn. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what path to take. It's hard to even take in new information because I really just don't know how to even begin, because I've not either begun something like this. I don't know what's around that corner. So I want to talk to you guys about that today, about what's happening, kind of similar in my business and what I felt when I first began, and maybe what's, hopefully can help you. All right, let's do it.
This is VO's Journey. With your host, the incomparable Anthony Pica.
All right, so I think that, no matter where you are in your business or your life, we often, are generally, at least for me, I'm generally nervous or fearful of things that I don't know how to do, and not fearful of them, but fearful that I'm going to fail. You know what I mean? Or even worse, when I first started too, I was fearful that I was going to find out that I was not good at this, or I couldn't hack it, or I had put all of this hope and, all this thoughts and all of these feelings into wanting to do voiceover and wanting to have a successful business. And I was going to just find out that I failed, or I was wrong, or this was not for me. I was so worried about that. And that really caused me to have a lot of pauses, a lot of stops in what I was doing. And, I want to talk to you about that because, we had a wonderful Fiverr Elite session yesterday. And I think I was listening to one of our incredible voice actors in the group. And, they were talking about how it can be such a challenge to even take in information when they're just starting and they don't even know what they should be doing or what they should be thinking or what is the actual action at this moment that is best for my business. And, I was talking to, which is such a valid question. And then I was talking to another wonderful voice actor today I was working with a little earlier, and they were talking to me about, the fact that they had worked so hard, to put so much together, built an incredible studio, got all the equipment they needed, got an amazing demo. And, they were still working on trying to figure out how to start. And I remember when I first started, I literally was so fearful of certain parts of the business, especially, that I told myself, well, I'm just never going to do them. Like, I was so afraid of commercial work. I was like, I'm just not going to do it because I was afraid I would fail, or I would find out that I was no good at it, or that, it was just going to, it's like that little devil on your shoulder. You're not good enough. You suck. This really isn't good. That client didn't want to work with you because you suck. I mean, we all have those feelings, right? And now, even with my business, what's going on now is, I'm at a place where, I have kind of a steady stream of customers for my, for voiceover, through platforms and privately. But, with everything going on, I'm trying to move into a position where I actually work with an assistant. I have a social media manager who helps me with my social media content, meaning that I create content and then they take it and help me distribute it and break it up and put it into little pieces, etc. That's very helpful because it takes a lot of time. but I'm looking for an assistant. But honestly, I'm worried. I'm nervous. I'm afraid of what could happen if, I fail at being able to direct them properly about what I need to do. And more importantly, it scares me about what could happen to my business because, just like all of us, I've spent 4 years, intentional years. And you guys know what I mean by intentional. Like these were 4 intentional years to build this. And I say intentional because before this, I'm pretty sad. I'm sad to admit that there was many years that went by that were not intentional. Do you know what I mean? There were years that I went by that I just walked through the processes of life and just kind of, walked through and didn't try. You know what I'm saying, right? They weren't specifically like I wasn't like on track, or I just wasn't giving my heart in it, putting my heart into my life. And these last 4 years I have. And I think when you build something like that, you can become fearful about it screwing up or something happening. So I am nervous about working with an assistant. But the reason why I wanted to talk to you about this today is because what I know now from what I've done over the last 4 years that will help me be able to be successful with an assistant that I work with. I want to tell you that this same thing will be helpful for you. I'll never forget when it starts off with a story, because you know me, because I like to tell stories. It starts off with a story many years ago when I was, it was around 2000 and when was it? It was about 2006. Yeah, 2006. Between 2006 and 2008. I've been teaching for a little while, and I wanted to get out of teaching and stretch my legs and try something else. So I had always been interested in finances, you know what I mean? Which is always weird because I'm an actor. Not that actors aren't interested in finances, but, most of the people I always hung around, we were so big into our craft, not like wanting to be a banker. But, I was like, well, I got to try my hand at banking. So I got into banking, and I was doing that for a little while. And, my job in banking was to help people, sign up for checking accounts and stuff like that, but it was also to sell accounts. And part of the process was making phone calls, reaching out to people, talking to people, trying to get people to sign up for these things. And it was very scary. It was very scary to try to meet these quotas and these deadlines. It was just not something that I had actively done before. I never had problem talking to people, right? But I never had a job until that moment where I had to sell something that intentional, sell something. So anyways, where I'm going with this story is I had been, at this point, really starting to rev up listening to audiobooks. And, especially self-help books about finance, and things like that. And as I was doing all of this, I started to put together a system or a kind of a list, if you will, but a system of tracking and to do daily, like to-do lists that, came together at the end of the month where we tracked what the results were and so forth. But it boiled down to a set of daily activities to generate what we were doing, like X amount of calls, which many places use. But anyways, what happened to me though is where what this made, or why this was special for me, was because it allowed me to take my fear and put it into something else. Meaning that I was no longer afraid of me failing. I was an operator of a system. And if the system failed, it wasn't my fault. It was the system's fault. And then it was just my job to help the system try not to fail next time. And if it failed again, that was okay because I'll just work on it again. But it was the system's fault, not my fault. Now, I know this might sound silly because you could say, well, then you make the system, that's your fault. But the point is, and like I tell people too, I'm a big advocate for know thyself. Meaning like, know what drives yourself. Know if you have issues with this, if this gets you into a certain mood, you know what I mean? Know yourself. So know that you put yourself in positions to succeed, not to fail. That's important. So with this idea and this mindset, it kind of launched a different thought process that I had. It still took me many years to really get this down. And it actually, honestly, guys, until I created these new couple courses recently, but especially this last one, that I've really been able to finally pull these years of systems kind of ideas in my heads and actually finally put it onto paper through this last marketing course I just built, Marketing 101 for voice actors. But the system approach is more than just a series of actions. It's a different way of looking at your fear and your life and a business, meaning that so much of me growing up and being in school and everything, I was always, we were all taught, there's tests, there's assignments, we either pass or we fail. And if we do, it's a direct reflection upon us and our talents and our skills. And, it all comes back to us in the end. And that's very, let's be honest, it can be scary and fearful and just downright stressful, So, and as a teacher, especially in high school too, for many years, I saw that with a lot of kids still. And I can't hardly imagine what kids going through right now too, but the point I'm trying to make is I realized that if I put everything that I felt, my fears, into a system and made that system what was the priority, not my feelings of fear, then what happened is that became more than, it became almost its own entity. Here's a perfect example. Have you guys ever tried to, or ever felt really bad about something, or just felt bad, and then you helped somebody and you focused on figuring out their problem and solving their problem, and for that period of time, you didn't feel bad because you weren't focused on your problems, you were helping someone else, and it seemed like for that moment or that place and time, all your problems went away? I don't know if you ever felt like that, but it's an amazing feeling to make that switch in your mind when you don't worry or fear about your own stuff, but you're focusing on something else. And I think for me, that dawned upon me, again, about knowing myself, that if I focused my efforts on creating a system of events or actions on a daily basis and worked on that system as opposed to myself, right? So much is put into ourselves, how do we make ourselves better? How do we habits and all these things? But instead, I focused on this system and making it the best system and the best entity it could be. It just clicked in my mind that it wasn't about me. It was about what I was creating with this system. So no longer was I fearful, because it was more about the actions that the system had me do or had someone else do. And when I did them, did they work? Did the system truly work, right? It was like, if you do A, B, C, D, E, then this is the outcome. So let's start with A, do B, do C, do D, do E. It's almost going back to that franchise model, right? Where McDonald's puts together a system that they can insert high schoolers, they can insert anybody into this and still have, one McDonald's make millions of dollars a year. And they got, young people that have very little education who are running it, right? And it has nothing to do about whether they could have gotten an education. That's not what that's about. It just means that anyone with any skill level can do it. Now, I'm not talking necessarily that's about us, right? We're voice actors and we have to have a skill level. But again, it's about the system, though, not about the individual. And so much of my life has always been about me and my, how good am I? Why am I not doing it, as opposed to the system? So I guess what I'm trying to tell you is I created a hack for myself to get beyond my fear and my worry. So as I look for an assistant, that's exactly what I'm starting to do right now. Is I'm building out the activities that I do on a daily basis on a spreadsheet that will become like a checklist. And then what I will do is, once I put out those activities, all those activities that I do on a daily basis that I would like someone to also do for me, Once I put them on a sheet, I will go through each one of those and make sure that I make another sheet or 2 sheets or pictures, diagrams, tracking sheets, templates, so that each one of those will be able to be done easily as well, so that there is no question in the mind of whoever I work with what I would like them to do. Okay, that's something that is very important. And I have to give my social media manager a lot of props because, he is very talented when it comes to picking out things. So yes, I do the content. And yes, we kind of agreed upon a structure that he uses to put the stuff out there. But what we don't agree, what he does all on his own is he goes into my stuff and he actually finds the sound bites. And you can, like this is already this one's about 15 minutes long so far, and I'm at a 15-minute level mark. Like he'll go in and find, 15, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, of pieces that are 20, 30 minutes long. Some of my stuff's an hour long, my videos. So he's extremely talented to be able to do that. But at the same time, we have a specific system set up to how we do certain things, and I'm trying to make sure I make it easier for him or more systemized myself as we go along. But for my assistant, that's what I'm going to be doing as well. And that's what will help you get over the fear that you have. Instead of holding on to that fear, take your fear and let's put it into something else, like the system. Let's let the thing that you create, and when I say system, I'm simply talking about a daily set of actions, things that you're going to do daily, okay? A checklist, even if it's just a simple checklist of 3, 5, 6 things that you do daily, okay? And you write that down. This becomes a system. I always think of a system as a repeatable set of actions that have a predictable outcome, all right? And that's what I think of a system as. If you do this, okay, you'll start to focus your energy and your effort on the system itself. Does the system work? Can the system predict what will happen? Now, I will admit, I've always had a soft spot for data. I really like it. It's funny, I'm not a mathematician by any means. My wife is the math genius in the family, but I always have loved numbers. I do love accounting. I do love stats. I love the story it tells me, because you know me, I'm a big story guy, and numbers tell a story too, just as much as words do. Numbers can tell a story. So I love the story that numbers tell. And so I love that data, and I love keeping that data and seeing if I can predict the data. It's fun. It's fun. So by you creating this and putting all your effort into the system, it will become a lot less scary. It will become more about the system you're building, and the actions are just a part of you proving your system works. Do you see? I know it's a slight change, but that slight change can mean the difference between you being able to take those actions, and get over that hump. And by the way, this is also that idea of being an imposter syndrome, which is a big deal, right? We have these feelings, and this, what I'm trying to tell you, will help you to get past that, or at least put something together where if we were to break down what truly is success, okay, well, that's a psychological thing. But if we were to break down the keys to financial success, if you will, it really, actually forget financial success, really the keys to anything that you want, if you were to strip away all the emotions to it, in the end, it comes down to a series of actions. A series of right actions that take you or put you in the right position to capitalize on on opportunities that, again, the right actions are required to get to the end of it, right? That's what success is. It's a series of repeatable actions with a predictable outcome, that's, I know I said that's what system is, but that's what it means. And if you could do that by removing that fear and putting it into the system, I know that you're going to be a lot more successful, and you'll be a lot more happy doing it. There will be a big You know what I mean? You know, like that moment where we're like, oh, this is nice. I had to tell you, I remember when I was first doing my first couple of audiobooks, and actually I hate to say this because I don't want to scare some of you, but it took me about a year and a half to get over that feeling of stress when I read. You might not have that feeling, but I always had this stressful feeling. Like I was always stressed out, like meaning like when I read, it didn't feel right. And I didn't know what that feeling was supposed to be. But what I mean by that, it always felt like I was trying to do more than just me reading. I got to the point where I was so fed up with it that I just wanted to read. I wanted to do an audiobook. I wanted to do something and feel like it was me. It was right. I don't even know how else to put it. But I always felt, maybe it was that imposter. I always felt that I was an imposter. But it was after about a year and a half of just continuously going at it and putting into these systems, it started to feel so much better. I started to feel more natural, even with the scripted words. So you will get there, but focus your efforts on a system. And I promise you that fear, that imposter syndrome, it will begin to fade because the system itself will just encompass it and be able to hold it for you. And you won't have to worry anymore whether you're doing it right or you're doing it wrong. It's the system that's right or wrong. And just fix the system. You don't have to fix yourself. It's a big difference there. All right, you guys, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. And the last couple of days with the incredible voice actors that I've been working with are always such a joy and inspiration. Fiverr Elite Group and the people that are part of the mentor program and the people who work with me one-on-one privately. I just absolutely love you guys. By the way, and so again, thank you. On a side note, real quick, if you get a chance, please go ahead and leave a review on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you may be. And if you're interested in the new marketing course, it's called Voiceover Marketing 101. It is by far the best course I've ever put together. It's available on my website, and it really will blow your socks off. And the best thing about the course is because just like I was telling you today, it is literally the best system I think I've ever created, and it works. So, I hope you guys get a chance to check it out. Thank you as always for listening, and you guys have a wonderful, wonderful week. I will talk to you soon. All right, you guys. Goodbye.